These are the draft picks who have failed with the Raiders. Horrible failure rate more recently. Since the JaMarcus Russell draft, which was back in the early 2000s, Raiders' number one draft selections have been hideous. 11 of the last 15 have washed out.
Wow.
Including not just the DUI fatality with Henry Rugg, Damon Arnett, high draft pick, cornerback, Ohio State, out of the National Football League, guns, walking around taking pictures, guns, horrible statements involving guns, killing people. He's out of the league. And then you look at the guys who couldn't play. I mean, the Raiders struck out on Cle Ferrell. They went 4 years with him as the number one pick, defensive end. Jon Abram, who they played immediately, safety, just didn't play well, couldn't stay on the field. He's a number one pick, high number one pick, gone. Rugg, Damon Arnett, Alex Leatherwood, huge kid out of Alabama, supposed to be their cornerstone ankle tackle forever. He didn't last a year and a half. This is all the aftermath of Jon Gruden. So what do you think of him now?
Here's what I'm wondering is such a disaster from the Jon Gruden era. Remember before Gruden took that job, and what was like $100 million, 10 years, it was a huge deal. He had been constantly being wooed by, the Davis family in Oakland, and then a lot of other teams. He kept denying and saying no, and he didn't want to go back and be a head coach anymore. I wonder if deep down he knew that he still didn't really have it. And a lot of that bravado of Jon Gruden, he probably knew he was better off in the broadcast booth.
No.
And now he's exposed.
No. It's bravado, it's ego. He would never tell you that he failed. The reality, history should write, Super Bowl ring with Tony Dungy's players.
Right.
In Tampa.
Mm-hmm.
And after that, boom. So then he winds up on TV and he talks himself. He was very good on television.
Yeah.
Very blunt and all that. Talks himself into being a hot candidate, goes to the Raiders, and what a disaster that's turned out to be. And John, I'm sorry, you cannot screw up as many first, second, and third round draft picks as he screwed up. He and Mike Mayock left a lot of carnage and wreckage behind. And I don't know if Josh McDaniels can rally this thing, and Dave Ziegler, who came from New England as their general manager. A lot of work to be done, but it's historically what the Raiders have always been about. Whether it was Al Davis in free agency or Mark Davis, let's just get the shiniest new object out there and everybody will get excited. God, bad product on the field and horrible product at the tail end in Oakland.
Mm-hmm.
And so I just wonder how long it's going to take them to get back. And they haven't been real good in a long period of time.
Well, do you think that they've kind of fixed their flaws? I mean, how did you feel about their draft, last week?
If I were King and how poor their defense has been because of the blown draft picks, I would have taken Jalen Carter, that cement block defensive tackle. Now you can stop the run.
Mm-hmm.
You can go get athletes, I think, that you can teach to play in the secondary, play well. But if you can't stop anybody, they took another defensive end. You've already got Chandler Jones that you gave a free agent contract to. You got Max Crosby, who's a phenomenal pass rusher. Why do you need another defensive end? And you still got a black hole in the middle in your defensive front wearing the silver and black. So they also, the story today is that they had a chance to make a trade to stockpile more currency in the first round. Arizona came to them and said, trade us number 7. We'll give you multiple picks. The Raiders did not do that either. So did they draft good guys? Well, we'll see. I think Tyree Wilson is a big physical specimen, but he's got a foot injury. And you didn't need, I don't think they needed another defensive end. I would have much rather had Jalen Carter wearing the silver and black. But you know the way they conduct their business, that's why I refer to them as the silver and bleak.
The silver and bleak. Yeah, for sure. Oh, man. I mean, so I worry about this franchise. I followed them in the 70s, It was a golden era, but, man, they are just a shell of themselves.
Oh, you're not going to pull out the Super Bowl trophy, the dusty, dirty one with the dent in your closet and run it out here and say, Lee, look what we won. Well, geez, that was 50, 60 years ago, John.
Right.
Speaking of old school out of touch,
yeah,
I'll spin that back in your direction.
Yeah, very good. I thought zinger right there.
One other